What is up, my little pretties? It's your mistress, the Queen of Lions here, and today, welcome back to another episode of Shadows and Pretties. So, in this episode, we did Quest for Camelot, which was episode 55. So, today, this is episode 56, and we are doing another episode of Shadows and Pretties. And this episode today we are talking about is Return to Oz. Now, I did a poll about, the other day asking, hey, what should the next episode should be about? And most of you guys voted for Return to Oz. And I thought Fern Gully was going to, the last rainforest was going to be, the next one. But it turns out that it is Return to Oz. So, I realized I haven't done this movie yet on my channel because I've done The Wizard of Oz. I've done, what was it? Wicked. I have not done Oz the Great and Powerful yet, but I do have plans to get to it eventually. I do have plans to get to the Tom and Jerry Back to Oz and Tom and Jerry Wizard of Oz. So I will be getting to those in the near future. So be sure to look out for that. So this movie is a unofficial sequel that Disney made to the Judy Garland Wizard of Oz, and this one is based on the book by Frank L. Baum, who basically wrote the first book, the series of books of Wizard of Oz, and this one is based on the book. So this came out in 1985, so if you were a kid, in the 80s or 90s, you probably have remembered, seeing this, a long time ago. You probably have remembered, seeing this from somewhere. So if you guys remember seeing this as a kid, then leave me what your thoughts are in the comments below, because I would like to hear your thoughts and opinions on it. So, with that being the case, you all know that The Wizard of Oz is one of my absolute favorite movies. Now, in this one, which is called, pardon me about that, which is called, Return to Oz. I probably said this already or anything like that, but I am going to say this, that it is a, what was it? Oh yeah, it's an unofficial sequel to, the MGM's film, The Wizard of Oz, that came out in 1939. And based on Frank L. Baum's early novels, which basically is an interesting concept. So this one is a pretty interesting one. Is where Dorothy returns to Oz and to find it's been conquered by the Gnome King, which is the fictional character in The Wizard of Oz, and must restore his new friends, which of course TikTok's one of them. Jack Pumpkinhead, which I could definitely say Jack Pumpkinhead kind of reminds me of Jack Skellington in the Nightmare on Before Christmas movie. So I could definitely say I like the Jack Pumpkinhead. He kind of reminds me of Jack Skellington. I guess maybe that's the inspiration for Jack Skellington came from. But if you guys want to let me know in the comments, feel free to do so. So, and of course they have some new characters in this. And of course, back sometime in 1954, Walt Disney wanted to bought the film rights of Baum's remaining Oz books to be used in a television series in Disneyland, and this led to a live-action film called Rainbow of Oz, but it was never completed, unfortunately. So that's basically lost media, so to speak, which was never completed. March to just making another Oz film in 1980, which Disney had to pay a large fee to use the ruby slippers that was created in 1939. Return to Oz had fell behind schedule during the production, and basically following the change of Disney the management and a lot of stuff. So Return to Oz somehow was released in June 21st, 1985, and it performed poorly at the box office, grossing about 11.1 million in the United States and 28 million budget, and had mixed reviews, and with critics praising for the effects and performances, but criticizing the dark content and the twisted visuals. But however, it performed well outside the US, and yeah, let's just say, it's a pretty interesting movie. I wasn't really interested in this movie when I was a kid, but looking at this as an adult, I really have to say it's a really, really good story. I definitely say, it's based on the Marvelous Land of Oz book, but it also, is based on the Ozma of Oz book as well. So it's two books that they took inspiration from that, and yeah. Now, I'm gonna say the acting of this was actually a very good movie. The acting was really good and well made. I liked, the acting was pretty good. The production of it was pretty interesting. of how it came to be. So of course they took some certain books from, the certain movies, and of course they ended up released it in VHS, and of course they eventually released on DVD and then Blu-ray as the years went on. And of course, to be completely honest, I really like this story. It's actually taken place, based on some books like the Marvelous Land of Oz book, and they also took the Ozma of Oz book. So, with that being the case, let's me begin with how the whole concept itself. So, let me get started with the plot of the movie. Just to let you know, I'm going to be spoiling everything about this movie. So, if you guys don't want to hear me spoil it, I suggest you leave. So, with that being the case, let's begin. So this takes place in October of 1899, where Dorothy Gale still talks about her adventure of the Land of Oz. Same from from kind of like some of the events from the first Wizard of Oz, the Judy Garland one. However, troubling her Aunt Em and Uncle Henry, who believe that she is fantasizing in her yard, she finds the keys with Oz to Inksta. Find a key with Oz. As an Instinga or Sanga or something like that. Aunt Em takes her to Dr. J.B. Worley for electrical therapy, having to leave her under the care of Nurse Wilson. But as Dorothy is about to receive treatment, the asylum is struck by lightning, and as the power fails, Dorothy is freed from her restraints by a mysterious girl who tells her that Dr. Worley's machine damaged the patients. So they escape, and the nurse Wilson in pursuit, and they fall to the river. So Dorothy and the Clambers aboard a chicken coop, but the other girl vanishes and's out of sight. Of course, Dorothy wakes up in Oz with her scarecrow, with her chicken Bellina, who can now talk, and they find themselves in the Emerald City, which unfortunately is in ruins, and the citizens, except the scarecrow, have been turned into stone, cornered by wheelers and menacing people with the wheelers instead of the hands or feet. So they escape into a room where Dorothy opens a door with the Oz key. And they met a medical man named TikTok, and yes, that's the new character in The Wizard of Oz. We never got to see it in the original movie. I guess maybe he just wasn't, created at the time, mainly. So, TikTok, who defeats the Wheelers and learns from the lead Wheeler that King Scarecrow has been captured by the Nome King, and who is responsible for Emerald City's destruction. So, they encounter Mombi in the royal palace, who decides to imprison Dorothy and to take her head for her collection in a locked room on top of the palace. So Dorothy, Bellina, and TikTok eventually meet Jack Pumpkinhead. Well, Jack Skellington kind of inspiration. Like, he kind of reminds me of Jack Skellington. When I saw this movie for the first time with the Jack Pumpkinhead, he reminded me so much of Jack Skellington from, Nightmare Before Christmas, which you probably have seen that one. You probably get the idea if you've seen those two movies. So, who explains that he was brought back to life by via Mombi's powder of life, which gives them an idea of how to escape. So they assemble the creature furniture, rope, and then lead like a head of a moose-like animal to call the Gump, who basically Dorothy steals the powder of life from Mombi, but awakens her many heads and rushes back to her friends to use the powder to bring Gump to life. So he flies across the deadly desert, which has Mombi has the Wheelers chase after them. But of course, Gump crashes into the mountain of the Nome King, which brings him to an underground domain. He tells Dorothy that he's turned Scarecrow into an ornament, and then challenges Dorothy and her companions to find which ornament. But if they can't, after 3 guesses, they will become ornaments themselves. The Gump, Jack, and TikTok each fail before Dorothy can return to the Nome King to review that he has. But of course, the king reveals that he has lost her ruby slippers and offers to use them to return home, but Dorothy refuses to do so. So when Mombi arrives in the mountain sometime, while Dorothy gets her first 2 guesses wrong, the first time she finds a scarecrow and realizes that people in Oz have been turned to green ornaments, going to restore, Jack and Gump enrage and the Nome King imprisons Mombi for allowing Dorothy to escape, and then becomes giant in order to prevent the others from leaving. So as he prepares to restore Jack and Gump, enraged the Nome King imprisons Mombi for allowing. But of course, before he prepares to eat Jack, but Bellina, hiding in Jack's head, lays an egg and it falls on top of the Nome King's mouth. And very surprisingly, eggs are poisonous to gnomes, and the Nome King falls and all of his kingdom begin to crumble. Really interesting for like a movie scene, to be honest. So I'm gonna say this is actually one of the darkest Wizard of Oz movies that I've seen. I know Wizard of Oz had dark moments in there, like the Wicked Witch of the West and all that. But to be honest, when I saw this movie, I actually found it to be a little bit more darker than the other ones I've seen. I've seen some other pretty dark movies, but this one is just actually one of them that was pretty messed up in that. So, okay. Now, with that being the case, as the mountain starts to collapse around them, Dorothy finds the ruby slippers and puts them on and wishes for the group to return to a restored Emerald City. There, they mourn the loss of TikTok until Bellina notices a green emerald medal stuck on one top of Gump's antlers, and Dorothy restores him. And at celebration, Dorothy is asked to be the Queen of Oz, but refuses, saying she must return to Kansas, and that Princess Ozma is the rightful ruler of Oz, imprisoned by the nearby Bombi, who is now free to take her place on the throne of Oz. So meanwhile, Dorothy hands over the ruby slippers to Ozma, who basically sent Dorothy home while Bellina remains in Oz. So in Kansas, Dorothy's family finds her at the riverbank, and Aunt Em reveals Worley's hospital was struck by lightning and was burned down. Worley died trying to save his machines. They see Nurse Wilson locked in a cage on a police buggy. So meanwhile, the farmhouse now complete, Dorothy can see Bellina and Ozma in Oz through her bedroom mirror. And that's basically how the movie ends. What a really great story. I'm definitely going to say that. This is actually a really well made story when it came to The Wizard of Oz. This one was actually good. It was a dark fantasy Wizard of Oz movie. Like, this is actually a pretty interesting concept when it came to that. So, with that being said, I actually found this movie to be rather amazing and well done. So, and anyways, I could definitely say that this was actually a really good movie from when I was a kid growing up. Like, when I was a kid, I actually loved this. Like, I know it's been played by different actors in that, because the original actors who played the original characters probably either died, that's most likely the case, or something like that. But with that being said, the new characters, the actors who played the new characters like TikTok, the Wheelers, the Jack Pumpkinhead, Bellina, and etc., they actually did a pretty good job. And I honestly have to say that this is actually a really amazing movie. When I saw this, I actually found it to be rather amazing, and especially with the whole concept in stock, with all the whole thing itself. And the Gnome King was actually a pretty interesting thing, which is pretty interesting, taken that I've seen this movie, well, as a young kid. I don't know if maybe some of you guys might have remembered seeing this as a kid, but some of you guys probably don't remember seeing it. But I remember seeing it when I was a kid, and to be honest, I loved this movie when I was a kid. Now, I don't remember, how old I was when I watched it. I might have saw it when I was, I don't know, maybe 5 or 10 or 5 or 6 or something. And I did watch it at this point, and it was actually a pretty good concept. And I do like how everything went out. It was just flat out amazing, and I really do like how everything went out. It was just like a really good sequel to The Wizard of Oz, and I actually found this classic to be a really amazing, good movie. Even though it came out in the 80s, I could definitely say it was actually a really well-made story. Now, I do like the characters in this. They actually did a pretty good job. I like the whole characters in there. I liked everything about it. It was basically amazing. I'm definitely sitting there and being completely honest. All the characters did pretty good. Now, I'm going to sit here and say that I really do adore how the characters went out, and how, the new characters were added, like TikTok, the new character which we never saw in the original film, Jack Pumpkin thing, pumpkin skin or something, I don't know, but he's a pretty interesting character. And I definitely have to say the new characters that were added in there were actually amazing, well done, and actually put very well into it. I definitely really liked this the movie. Like, the movie itself was absolutely very amazing and well done. So, like I'm gonna say, if you were a kid in the 90s, you probably remembered watching this once as a kid, but probably just don't remember this. But, like, just like me, I don't remember watching this as a kid, but I watched this for the first time in a long time, and I still don't remember how old I was when I saw it. But I remembered I watched it at one point, and it was actually a pretty good concept and really good detail. So I definitely have to say that this one was actually really amazing and well done. So, what did I have to say for this story? Well, the whole concept of itself. Now, I definitely have to say it was good. I definitely have to say it was a pretty good concept in that. I really do like everything about this story. Like, the whole movie itself was actually really nice and really interesting. I do like how everything went out. It was flat out amazing. Now, I definitely have to say that if I had to say a few things that I wasn't really crazy on, that would have to be. Oh, yeah, that would kind of have to be, some of the things weren't really there, like I think it could be maybe because it was like this came out like a few years later, after couple like years later after the first Wizard of Oz movie. So that was kind of one of the bummer, because if it was made around shortly after the original Wizard of Oz was made, then they would have used the original cast for it. That's my only, minor issue, but other than that, the story was just amazing. I really do think that this story does deserve, a little more, love into it, and it's a really good concept. I definitely have to say, like, if you are a Wizard of Oz fan, you will definitely like this, as this is actually a really good movie, and you really should really take a look at this. If you haven't seen this already, I highly recommend you check it out, as I really do think you guys will enjoy the movie. But yet again, if you don't like the movie, that's understandable. Like, I'm okay if you don't like the movie. Like, this is just my opinion. If you disagree with me, that's fine too. But anyways, yeah. Well, anyways, what did you guys think about this story? Did you all happen to enjoy this story? Did you happen to not like it? And also, what we have done personally help make this movie a lot better. Leave me know what your thoughts are down in the comment section down below. I'm the Queen of Lions. Thank you so much for watching today's episode. If you happen to be brand new here on this channel, be sure to like, comment, and subscribe, because I make brand new videos every single day. Don't forget to ring the notification bell when I upload, so that you guys will not miss an upload. And as always, please, well, there's no outro with these, but I'm going to say I'll be seeing you all in the next video. Thank you so much. And as always, I'll see you all in the next video.